I want to talk a little bit about the nature of reality, of how this reality gets constructed, the way I understand it. And that understanding has been an evolutionary process. So I certainly did not understand it when my awakening, in the same way. I didn't understand it the same way when my awakening first started. Everything was material and physical, and it was all as real and solid as it gets. And we had to fight against and push against the things we didn't like in the external reality in order to affect change. A lot has changed, and the way information and knowledge has come to me is a variety of methods, but one way is through an intuitive hit that comes into my mind, some original thought, just one thought usually, then gets built upon and reflected back to me in the outer reality. It's almost like, the internal intuition is telling us something. And when we choose to listen to that and contemplate on that thought, just on that thought, that's an inquiry to the universe. We're now questioning the universe. It's part of that quest I talked about in a previous video. So we're wanting to know more. And by putting that out there, it somehow magically comes to us. It can come in, any number of ways in the external reality. You can hear pieces of it in a movie or from somebody else's conversation in a grocery store or a sign or, something on the radio or the lyrics in a song or any number of ways where it gradually gets built upon and built up to where the understanding starts to evolve and expand and a greater picture comes into view. That's kind of the way everything's always worked for me since this spiritual awakening happening. It wasn't from reading other people's books, although I did a lot of that in the beginning. I really haven't done that in years because I had an intuitive hit to just stop doing that. I think it got to the point where it was actually interfering with the internal voice that's trying to speak to us. So, yeah, that was a growth process, and that's an evolutionary process. But I'll talk a little bit about the nature of reality, of how it's constructed as I understand it now. Part of this also came through an ayahuasca ceremony where I had done a ceremony with the indigenous families from Colombia. And it was really heavy medicine, and I was really, really into this medicine. And I had at one point looked at my arm, right like here, and it was just this digital pixels. That's all it was. And I know what I saw. You could say it's hallucination and all that, but when you're in an experience versus reading about it or hearing about it, it's very different. Things do tend to leave an imprint. And it was also just quickly in the ayahuasca, a different ayahuasca experience where I had a very, very deep and profound emotional shift about darkness itself. Because again, I had been fighting against it. It's got to go. It's got to be purged from this planet. It's my job to do it. It's my job to save the world. Yada, 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 giant traps. And I see those played out with other people going through the spiritual process over and over. They're giant traps. It doesn't mean that we're not supposed to do what we're supposed to do. Like, perhaps we make a channel or write or get into the creative process in other ways. That's your dharma, that's your purpose. We are supposed to do that. But saving the world, a world that doesn't want to be saved, no, that's not going to work. You'll find the whole world has Stockholm syndrome, and they just want to kill you. So you can't save the slaves that want to be enslaved. That doesn't work. So let's just check that one off. But I've been there, done that, Anyway, going back to what I was talking about, the main point of reality creation, during that emotional experience, I saw all these people who I knew personally, family and such, that I had viewed as part of the evil forces prior to that because of knowledge and information that I'd acquired. And then this guitar started playing, and I could see each person born was like a guitar string, a vibration. You know, Tesla talked about that. If you want to understand the nature of the universe, think in terms of frequency and vibration. So I could see that, you know, a child is born, they start crying, and then that noise is a vibration that they carry through our whole lives. We're trying to find our song, trying to find our beautiful, magical song that can help to change the world. And we've all seen that in amazing artists like Celine Dion or somebody like that, who clearly, when they're practicing their gifts, I mean, everything stops. It does for me anyway. I mean, everything stops. Time stops, you know, because we can feel the divine coming through them in their expressions. And that's Dharma, that's purpose. And, you know, I just watched her documentary video, very touching, by the way, very moving. And you can tell that's what she lives for. She lives for that. And, you know, her sickness has just been very destructive for her. But anyway, the vibration is carried all the way through life. We're trying to hit those notes. We're trying to hit that note. Usually we're singing out of tune, and it comes off entirely the wrong way. We're misunderstood. We don't get it right. And so we view those as mistakes, and a lot of times we give up. You know, we shouldn't. We should just keep doing it and keep trying to hit that song, whatever your song is. You know, it could be anything. It could be a book that you write. It could be public speaking, it could be making videos, it could be running retreats, it could be, you know, just uplifting your family and learning to live your best life, learning to be a better person. And that's ultimately what this darkness is about. Ultimately, it's just trying to sculpt that light back up out of us in order that we can balance those energies, because we're all made up of dark and light. Whether we want to admit it or not, it's irrelevant. We are. Everything is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Darkness can be very beneficial at times. Just, you know, we don't choose to live in it. That's all. But I saw that, and I could see how I saw each person, and I saw the essence of each person coming through as this vibration, and I was just overtaken with love, just complete love. And then all of them, I suddenly had a completely different shift in perspective, and that's all it takes. You know, you're looking at things this way, and all of a sudden you have this shift in perception, and you can view that reality in a very different light. And that's what happened. I saw all of these people and events which I had viewed as, you know, oppressors, and I'm the victim, and all of that programmed stuff. And suddenly I viewed it as this grand orchestration, this incredible musical composure that I got to be here to witness. And I just sobbed and sobbed. I was just this ball of snot and tears for like 2 hours on the desert floor outside of Tucson, Arizona, looking up at the night sky. That'll stay with me forever. That changes you. It also changes your perception of darkness. Doesn't mean I love it. I certainly don't. I still have an aversion to it. I still react to it. I still, you know, get angry. But not like I did before. And I don't stay there. You know, sometimes it just takes a few moments, sometimes maybe an hour or two or a day, and then I can step back and start to begin to see the greater picture of it, of its real purpose and its function, and its function in teaching and growth and evolution. So back to the nature of reality, you know, we've all heard the expression that where attention goes, energy flows. And we live in an electromagnetic universe. The Earth has its own electromagnetic field, the sun, all the planets. We do, our brain, our heart has an electromagnetic field. The hearts can be incredibly powerful, and those fields interact with each other. And so just by you learning things and learning to meditate, for example, and learning to, improve your own inner space, your own inner life, you are having an effect on others. And it's kind of like that whole meditation thing where they get a group of people together and crime goes down and all that. I've read all about that. But, Tesla's talking about in terms of frequency and vibration, and where energy goes, or where attention goes, energy flows. That's important. And the reason that's important is because when we're just focused on all the negative events in the world, and I'm not going to use that C word, but I've been in every rabbit hole imaginable. There's nothing that you could tell me about that I haven't looked at and explored. I did that for over 15 years. And that seemed to be my mission. That seemed to be what the universe wanted me to do. It was dropping these breadcrumbs, and I would look into it. But this was, again, an evolutionary process. This was a process of growth, where I began to see that the more I focused on those things, the more solid they became, the more that became my reality. And I also recognized that it was destroying my life. It was ruining me. I'm like, I didn't have to worry about the bad guys out there. I'm like, I was going to destroy myself. And that's kind of the whole point of this. And so it's important to explore the darkness, but to an extent. Balance is important. I mean, we have to know what's going on in the world, yes, and that's for our own growth and our own good. And again, what you don't know, the court of the universe can hold against you. So it is important to understand what's going on in the greater picture, but it doesn't mean that we need to see every pimple on the beast's ass. And I know people that have done that, and it's called black-pilled. And basically they just stay in this negative feedback loop over and over and over and stay stuck there because, and I was there. Because we think we've reached the apex of consciousness and not realizing that there's a glass hatch right over our heads that we built. There's always another level up, always. As long as we're in these physical bodies and these avatars here, this isn't even who we are. There's potential growth. We just have to want it. It's part of that quest. It's part of that journey I talked about. But if we arrive on a farm of consciousness, I just call it that, just as an analogy. We get to a farm, we're comfortable there. Aha, all those people below me are stupid because they don't see it. I must teach them. Like, yeah, well, there's people above you doing the same. There's souls above you doing the same. So be careful. And the reason why is because we're not taking our part in the responsibility for that. The collective, the way this reality seems to work on a grander scale is, believe it or not, through a democracy, through the majority of the consciousness of humanity. So if the majority of the consciousness is living in fear and living in scarcity and lack mentality, then that's what's going to manifest, and that's going to continue to manifest until one person at a time, and one electronic field at a time begins to transmit something else, to where it begins to change the frequency on the dial to where we want it, to a different world. We can also change our immediate reality, our personal reality, by the space that we live in, the people that we surround ourselves in, the choices that we make, the foods that we eat, the media or television or movies that we consume, the music that we consume, the things that we read. All of these choices are important because we're choosing that reality. And so The lesson that I learned in that is be careful. Be careful of what you consume and how much you consume it, because, we could arrive at our deathbed and have accumulated this gigantic, vast wealth, call it wealth, of information, call it knowledge, but it's kind of useless. It was useless, wasn't it? What did we do with it? We helped spread the darkness to others? Okay, well then we're kind of serving the darkness, aren't we? Aren't we? I mean, telling people about one thing, but they have to want it. They have to go through. And I think that process of going through it and then finally saying, all right, you know what, I'm gonna play with my kids, or I'm gonna play with the cat, or I'm gonna go plant food in the garden, I'm gonna spend time in nature, I'm gonna go for walks, I'm gonna listen to beautiful music, I'm going to consume movies that open my heart and music that opens my heart, and all of these things, because these things are changing my reality. They're changing the way I feel, the way I think. Even the things around me, the people that come around me are different now. The people that I associate with are very different from my younger years. And so it's really important to make conscious choices and to take responsibility for our part in helping to create this. So if we're thinking about the evil government is coming to get me or anything like that, we're going to help create that. We're going to help create that. We're going to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. So be careful. Be careful with your thoughts and what you consume. We're co-creators. We carry the spark of the divine within us, and we don't even realize it. We're running around asleep, spiritually asleep, our whole lives, unconsciously creating all the things that we don't want. Because it's a process of awakening and self-discovery and figuring out who we are so that we can create the realities that we do want. And maybe, this sculpting of our consciousness and our inner space is, on an individual level, is kind of the whole point. We don't have to worry about what the rest of the world's going to do. Just, it's gone crazy, so let it go crazy. Nurture and love those that you can, but that electromagnetic sphere of love, unconditional love and gratitude comes from your heart. And so when we're in that space, we're broadcasting, we're sending it out. And the more people that can do that, the more it's going to affect. And that will totally override the ego mind. It doesn't know what to do with that. It doesn't know how to process it. But, if you can, when we touch somebody's heart, that can transform them. That can change everything. It can change who they are. It can change all the beliefs. It can change everything. It certainly did me. So yeah. Again, I'll be talking a lot more in depth about some of these subjects and many other subjects in future videos. I'm going to have them both on my channel on Rumble and on YouTube. And just opened an account at X too, so I might do some stuff on there. All the links will be in the description box, but subscribe and like the video if you like it. Take care, guys.